One night, I think I was playing video games or streaming or something, and before I started up to go to bed, I checked my email, and I saw in my email that my credit card had been declined for some subscription, and I said, well, that's weird. I don't think I'm over my limit on my credit card. As far as I know, it's a good credit card. And so I go to my online banking app, and I see that on my checking account, it was $0. And understand, I had something like $500,000 in that checking account just the other day. And so at first I thought, this is a glitch, so I refreshed the app, and nothing changes. I close the app, I reopen it, nothing happened, and upon further investigation, I saw there was a legal order placed on my account. I went through my transaction history and I saw a legal order and subtracted my entire bank balance. Froze both my credit cards, and my entire checking account was frozen, which is where nearly all of my cash was. I called customer service at the bank. I said, where's my money? What's going on? They said, well, we'll get to the bottom of this. They called their legal department. They call me back a few minutes later and they tell me, your account is under review and we could give you no other information. And I was furious. I said, are you kidding me? I had all this money one day and now it's gone. When's it going to be released? Who's doing this? Why is this happening? And they just kept saying the same thing. All we could tell you is your account is under review. And so I called the bank every single day for 2 weeks, multiple times every day for 2 weeks. And finally, after about, I think it must have been 15 or 16 days, she calls me back and she says, Mr. Fuentes, I have some good news for you. We have an update on your account. In order to get in touch with the people that have placed a legal order on your account, you can call these numbers. And she gives me 3 phone numbers for U.S. attorneys working for the Department of Justice. And so at that point, I know this is an FBI investigation. At that point, I know this is the Department of Justice, which has placed a freeze on all my cash in my bank account. And the reason why this is so crushing is because the Department of Justice and the FBI are immovable. Because of the war on terror, because of the Patriot Act, because of how the federal government operates, they really can do whatever they want to whoever they want, and there's nothing you can do about it. And so I talked to my lawyer. I asked him, can I get my money back? Is there anything I could do? Do they have to release it? Which are the obvious questions that anyone would ask. And the response is basically, they can take your money, they don't need a reason, and they can keep it as long as they want, and they don't have to give it back. And this is how the federal government works. A lot of people assume that because this is America and not Russia or China, that there must be something that can be done. You must be able to sue. You must be able to file something and pursue some kind of recourse. But sadly, that's not the case. If you find yourself the subject of an FBI investigation, if you find yourself a target of the federal government, there's really nothing more that you can do. It's as inevitable as death or gravity. The federal government is going to do what it's going to do, and you're just along for the ride. All of that concentrated power that's been built up in Washington, D.C. is being rotated and turned inwardly. And the kind of shock and awe that we saw in 2003 or 2001, Patriot Acts, panopticon surveillance state, that's now being wielded by politicians, bureaucrats, connected, wealthy, elite people. And they can now wield that and utilize that against people with American citizenship. People that have done nothing wrong, are not criminals, are not a threat to society, but people that are merely an inconvenience or a problem to powerful people. And so at that point, that's the total end of a free society. That's the end of your rights, that's the end of your property, and it could be the end of your life. And so that was the first major instance of the federal government coming after me after January 6th.
All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I would like to begin by giving all praises to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shah, Bahashem Rekakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, and Shalom to the hopefully elect. Right. So, as you can see from the introduction video, right, that was just an example of someone who has, let's say, been exposed to the true ways of, Babylon, this, the horror, the America, all right? Essentially, that beast system, right? Which is really what I'm trying to get at. It's that beast system. It's that system that you have to comply with no matter what. And if you don't, you can and will be exiled from society, man. Right? Which we know eventually this is what's going to lead down into Jacob's trouble and things of that nature. Right? Because if you don't comply, which we'll read, if you don't comply with this society, they will, like it says in the video, they'll freeze your accounts. You won't be able to get into your accounts and things of that nature, man. Everything is going to be pointless, right? Those riches aren't going to be able to save you in those days, right? Because we know the dollar's being done away with, the physical dollar, right? But like we just talked about in the lesson prior, right? Trump swears that he won't let the central banking or CBDC, the central banking digital currency system be implemented. But if the digital is going away, not the digital, if the physical is going away, then it's all going to be digital, right? And if it's all digital, then even like Trump was saying, they're going to have complete control over whatever. And this is talking about, the FBI or, one of the three-letter agencies. But it still stands that Esau Edom can do whatever they want, when they want. So that's why we have to know that our true power, or where our true power comes from, right? You can't be wrapped up in this world trying to, save up and thinking that you can be able to get yourself out of these types of situations. Because no, it's not going to happen like that, right? Our power, our faith has to come by Yahweh Shem Yahushua, especially in those days, right? This is, we'll start at Revelation 13. And we'll start at 11, really. Read on down. So this is verse 11. It says, "And I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had two horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon." Right? Again, who is this talking about? Well, let's read the next verse. It says, "And he exerciseth all the power of the first beast before him, and causeth the earth and them which dwell therein to worship the first beast, whose deadly wound was healed." Whose deadly wound was healed? That's the Roman Empire, right? That deadly wound was healed, right? America is the Roman Empire come back again, right? So, again, so this beast that we're talking about, the first, right? As it says in the beginning, the first beast before him is the Roman Empire. And so the current beast that we're talking about is America, Babylon, right? NATO, EU, the whole beast system, right? Verse 13, it says, "And he doeth great wonders, so that he maketh fire come down from heaven on the earth in the sight of men." Heaven, fire come down from heaven on the earth is like what? Bombs, missiles, all these types of things, right? These are those great wonders, things that people have never seen before, right? Heat-seeking missiles, all these types of things, Verse 14, "And deceiveth them that dwell on the earth by the means of those miracles which he had power to do in the sight of the beast, saying to them that dwell on the earth that they should make an image to the beast, which had the wound by a sword and did live." Right? He's doing all of these miracles, again, deceiving the people, right? Because especially your modern day Americans, they just swear that America can't be touched. Which, don't get me wrong, America spent, if I'm not mistaken, trillions of dollars on the defense system, right? Which is why it's going to be hard for just anybody to come over to America and destroy it. But this is why it has to be done by Yahweh Shem Yahushua, right? Or this is why Yahweh Shem Yahushua, dare I say, has to step in, right? I say dare I say because he has a hand in everything, right? But figuratively speaking, he has to step in, right? Verse 15, it says, "And he had power to give life unto the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak and cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed." And this is why I say, like I was saying earlier, you have to comply to this beast system. You have to. Otherwise, and when I'm saying you have to, if you want to be a part of it, is what I'm saying. Of course, that, but just clarifying. But if you want to be a part of this place, you're gonna have to comply with everything that they tell you to do, right? And if you don't, which is what the true men of the Lord will do, right? Then You may be killed. You may be persecuted. You may be thrown in prisons. But like I tell you, also in the book of Revelation, fear none of those things. And I actually grabbed that, because, I mean, what is this life? It's like the scriptures say, it's but a vapor, It appeared for a little time and vanisheth away, right? So you shouldn't hold near and dear to this life, right? You really should only do what, what the Lord commanded. Keep it simple. You don't gotta, try to be the most famous, the most well known, the most, the richest, all these types of things, right? You shouldn't put too much stock into this world, because it's going to be destroyed. This is Matthew 10:28. It says, fear not them which kill the body, but are not able to kill the soul, but rather fear him which is able to destroy both soul and body in hell, right? So don't fear them which can kill the body. Don't fear Esau, Edom, because they can't kill the soul. But Yahweh, which is that healthy fear, right? The fear to know that he controls it all. This is how we know where our true power comes from. It comes from Yahweh, Yahweh, right? The power of Israel, right? People like to say he can be the God of anybody. He's anybody's God. No, he tells you that plenty of times. I spelled it wrong. Let's get a couple of examples, because you'll see. God of, look. Let's just go through, because it's telling you this is possessive, right? This is possessive. It's telling you who he's the power of. God just means power. He's the power of Israel. It's always been that way, right? And Exodus 5:1, it says, and afterward Moses and Aaron went in and told Pharaoh, thus saith Yahweh, when it has Lord in all caps is the name of the Lord, which is Yahweh, power of Israel, let my people go, right? Power of Israel. 24:10, they saw the power of Israel. And I'll say God, just speak for verbatim, right? Exodus 32:27, thus saith the Yahweh, God of Israel. It's always been God of Israel, God of Israel. Like it's always been that way, and we're kind of getting away from the point. But look, it just says it so many times. Nobody else was ever a part of this. If you want to talk about the New Testament, this is Luke 1:68. Blessed be the Lord, God of Israel, for he. I smacked my teeth because you can't combat the scriptures, man. Luke 1:68. Blessed be the Lord, power of Israel, for he hath visited and redeemed his people. Who is his people? Israel. It says, and have raised up a horn of salvation for us. Who is the us? His people. Who is his people? Israel. It says, for us in the house of his servant David. So, it's really almost old at this point, going back and forth with, not even almost, it is old going back and forth with, simple-minded people, which is why the elder apostles tell us on the regular not to do so. It's pointless, right? But getting back to the point, Shalakia, getting back to the point, like I said, fear not those who can kill the body, right? Just the body, just the flesh, right? So when we go back, so going back to Revelation 13:15, and he had power to give unto the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak and cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. So when these things happen, you're being persecuted, and you have to flee. You're in the wilderness and things of that nature, like it says in the book of Isaiah. Man, wisdom and knowledge shall be the stability of our times. Why? Because we know where our power comes from. He's the power of Israel, so we don't need to. He's the power of Israel, so we don't need to fear any of those things, man. We don't gotta fear any of those things. Verse 16, it says, and he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads, which is what? The RFID seal. All right? That's the MOTB. That's the mark of the beast. All right? So when you see like a chip, and they trying to put it into your hand and saying that they're gonna give you this and that and you're gonna get all these incentives, don't fall for it. That's the MOTB. Because again, this all goes into like what that dude was saying, right? They want complete control. Reading on verse 17, it says, and that no man might buy or sell. He couldn't do nothing. They took all his money. Save he that had the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name. So you have to have that mark. You have to comply with their beast system in order to be able to mix and mingle in this world, man. You know? But there's no point, because on to Matthew 16 and we'll start at 24. You see, it says discipleship is costly, right? It's costly. You're gonna give up stuff. You're gonna have to pay for things, figuratively, physically. You're gonna have to pay for stuff. You know, it's not just gonna be a walk in the park. But that's why the scriptures tell you, you know, you got to endure unto the end to be saved. Right? But starting in verse 24, it says, then Yahushua said unto his, then said Yahushua unto his disciples, if any man will come after me, let him deny himself and take up his cross and follow me. For whosoever will save his life shall lose it, and whosoever will lose his life for my sake shall find it. For what is a man profited if he shall gain the whole world and lose his own soul? Or what shall a man give in exchange for his soul, right? So, you want to comply with this beast system? Okay, cool. But what did you profit if you gained the whole world but lost your soul? Something to think about, man. There's really nothing to think about but figure of speech. But Lord willing, that's edifying. I'm going to end this by giving all praises to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushua, Bahashem, Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone. And Shalom to hopefully elect.